I'm Francis Chen, a professor of medicine from the Chinese University of Hong Kong. I'm a practicing gastroenterologist, and in recent years, my interest is on transforming our research on gut microbiome into clinical applications. Now, in terms of gut microbiome, our main focus is to make use of AI technology to identify billions of metagenomic bacterial datasets that are unique to our Asian populations and transform these important data into novel diagnostic tests for early diseases such as colorectal cancer and also therapeutic treatment, including probiotics and future life biotherapeutics for various diseases.
Right, this is a very good question. Being a gastroenterologist, I have a special affection for the guts. And in the last 10, 20 years, with this advancing technology, we know that the gut microbiome is indeed very fascinating for three reasons. First of all, I can tell you, in fact, the gut microbiome accounts for 99% of our total body genome. In fact, our human organ, human cells, only account for 1% of the total body genome. That means the gut is truly our second set and major set of genome and organ. The second thing is, when gut microbiome only affects various health and diseases, it also is enormous contribution to the total body genome. Now we know that this gut microbiome affects our behavior, our thoughts, and recent studies suggested that it can change our behavior, our mood, and it affects conditions like autism and even dementia. So people often say the gut microbiome is our second brain. And the third thing is we cannot change our human genome. The genes from our parents we can't change also, but we can always have this enormous potential to manipulate our gut microbiome to improve our health and even cure diseases in the future. Right. People now often make fun of me and say I'm a tube doctor. In fact, in the past, people thought tube was a waste and it was disgusting. Now, because of the fact that poop contains billions of genetic information of our gut bacteria. Therefore, even the small amounts of poop will contain enormous information that will inform our health, present health, and also maybe our future destiny. So therefore, I believe food is something that contains enormous information that will in fact also change our health in the future. And over the years, we have been very successful in collecting these group samples and transponding into very important microbiome genetic material we call metagenomic data set. We are probably one of the largest, if not the largest, initial metagenomic kind of microbiome data bank in the world. Now, this is very important because we know that the gut microbiome is different for people in Asia compared to those who live in the West. So, data from the West, scientific studies of the West, may not be applicable in our Asian countries. Therefore, we believe that our data set will be very important to advance the health and also change the future development of therapeutics for our Asian patients. And exactly, because we deal with billions of data. Therefore, we are able to make use of AI technology to dissect the different combinations of bacteria in order to find novel diagnostics and therapeutics for our patients. Right. Now, metagenomics, we can consider this as a way to identify different bacterial strains. We have different technologies, and I can use very simple terms in saying that metagenomic analysis is a really deep dive into the different types of bacteria, try to dissect out which particular strain of bacteria will be harmful or beneficial to our human health. Therefore, we have been making use of this very novel cutting-edge technology to have this precision medicine to identify those bacteria that help us to make early diagnosis, and also those bacteria with the right combination can improve our health.
Now we know that it is because of the increasing westernization of our diet and lifestyle, which really changes our gut microbiome to become more prone to develop colorectal cancer. Oh, that's interesting. Quite a few cancers are more common in men than women. We believe that somehow for women, the female sex hormones protect them from developing cancer. So everything being equal, with the presence of female sex hormone, some of the cancers are less prevalent in women. Colorectal cancer known to be more common in men than women for the same age. But when we grow older, say beyond the age of 70, then both men and women are more or less the same. Now, I think CRC is really rising rapidly in many Asian countries due to westernization of our diets and lifestyle. And I believe this will continue to get worse. So we need strategies to early detect and also prevent the development of colorectal cancers. Right, I believe this is a very common misconception because most of the time, by the time the patient develops serious symptoms like with blood in stool, weight loss, change in the bowel habit, often it would be pretty advanced or late-stage colorectal cancer. In contrast, a lot of these colorectal cancer patients, before they presented, they didn't have much symptoms. So, in other words, symptoms are no reliable predictor of colorectal cancer. We do need healthy lifestyle, changes in our behavior like avoidance of alcohol or smoking, and kind of screening. Certainly nowadays we know that by improving our gut microbiome, there will be a pretty good chance that we might change the risk of colorectal cancer in the future. Yeah, in the last 10-15 years, our team have done a lot of research. We found two types of bacteria. One type of bacteria, they will promote colorectal cancer development. We have repeatedly demonstrated this effect both in the laboratory setting and also in clinical observation. Meaning patients with colorectal cancer, they have more this kind of cancer-producing type of bacteria comparing to healthy individuals. The other group of bacteria is interesting. They are kind of suppressing colorectal cancer development. And we've also identified certain bacterial strains that can really suppress the growth of human cancer in a laboratory setting. Well, certainly as a gastroenterologist, I do believe that colorectal cancer screening is a very effective way of preventing colorectal cancer. So whoever above the age of 45 should really consider regular colorectal cancer screening, either with the fecal or occult blood test or with colonoscopy. Now we've got some other novel non-invasive tests such as testing the stool from gut microbiome. Now, but understand that many healthy people, they just don't like screening. So the other option is to go for healthy lifestyle. But healthy lifestyle requires a lot of discipline. Now, our focus is now on how we can modify and improve the gut microbiome to make it more healthy to reduce the future risk of colorectal cancer. Well, for decades, people have shown that with healthy diets like less meat, more vegetables, fibers, and avoidance of food additives may help reduce the risk of colorectal cancer. But the effect is kind of not very obvious. You have to be very disciplined in order to see a small improvement. Now, in recent years, with this metagenomic analysis of our huge Asian data sets and use of the AI technology, we've identified a combination of very good probiotic bacteria that has been demonstrated to, first of all, in a laboratory setting, how it can suppress the growth of human colon cancer. And then we are now doing a prospective multinational clinical trial to see if this combination of bacterial product can really reduce the risk of polyps. We know that most of the colorectal cancer develop from polyps, and I can share with you that the preliminary result is very, very encouraging. Right. SMT04 is a combination of probiotic bacteria from our research team in CUHK. We use a combination of very novel bacteria, they're food-grade bacteria, some of which we have demonstrated in both laboratory and clinical setting that it can have anti-cancer effect, meaning it can suppress the growth of human colorectal cancer cells. And now our ongoing multinational clinical trial has been trying to demonstrate whether this SMT04 will have this improvement in terms of reducing the risk of recurrent advanced big polyps. And so far, the preliminary data are pretty encouraging. I hope I can share with you the final results in the near future. Right. This is a very good question. This Streptococcus thermophilus is a probiotic. It's a food-grade probiotic bacteria. But there are different strains of this Streptococcus thermophilus. In our laboratory, we've identified two very specific strains of Streptococcus thermophilus that have these anti-cancer properties. And therefore, we have incorporated these Streptococcus thermophilus strains into our SMT04. Together with other combination based on our AI technology, we found that such combination of probiotic bacteria have, in the laboratory setting, anti-cancer effect, suppresses the growth of polyps in the colon, and therefore we have to verify this initial observation in the clinical setting to confirm its clinical efficacy in preventing colorectal polyps and even cancer in the future. Yeah. In fact, my very first case of SMT04 was on a 70-year-old gentleman who was otherwise healthy. I first do a stool test for his gut microbiome and found that he has got a very high risk of colorectal cancer. Then I convinced him to undergo colonoscopy. I found a huge polyp, and that turned out to be early stage cancer. Fortunately, it was totally removed, and then I put him on SMT04. And after 4 or 5 years, I retest his stool microbiome again. His cancer-producing bacterial level has come down to almost undetectable with a lot of good bacteria, and I did a follow-up colonoscopy for him recently, and there was no recurrence of polyp. Now, this is a very encouraging case, and that was one of the reasons why I am doing this large-scale multinational study to confirm the efficacy of SMT04.
Covered both the case studies I wanted.
I didn't mention anything about IBS. I can talk about IBS.
Yes, is something about IBS related. Yes,
yeah,
please.
SMT for IBS, this is also something very interesting. As I said, our original intention to develop SMT04 was to reduce the risk of colorectal polyps for long-term cancer prevention. But then a lot of my patients, they take this SMT04 for symptoms of irritable bowel syndrome. And they came to me and said, Professor Chen, I found it very, very helpful. Then I was kind of puzzling why the original intention was for polyp prevention, and then a lot of IBS patients find it helpful. Then our research team did extensive laboratory studies and found that this SMT04 reduces this permeability of the colon, meaning it reduces this leaky gut. And I believe this might contribute to improvement in symptoms of IBS in many of our patients.
Right.